81-year-old Antonia Lopez has enjoyed a full life, proudly raising 7 children, and she's still able to do things for herself. But at 77, she began noticing significant changes. Her daughters would soon learn Lopez was battling Alzheimer's, a secret they've kept from their mother until this day.
She started forgetting things, and she was kind of concerned. She went to the neurologist, and at first he didn't really pay attention to her. He said, oh, it's because you're getting old. Don't worry. But she started getting worse and worse.
As they reminisce through old pictures, the most painful for Maria Navarro and her siblings, their mother doesn't recognize them anymore. For now, the sisters take comfort in caring for her.
The worst thing was that she started not recognizing her family. And sometimes she just was calling for the youngest boy or the youngest girl in the family because she was kind of more attached to them, and she always wanted them to be near her. And the rest was kind of vanishing.
The vanishing of Lopez's memory may have slowed down since she began taking the experimental drug Reminol. She also takes mind-activating vitamins to help.
I think the medication will help her with control herself a little bit. She's not, because she takes antidepressant, and so she's not crying at all. She's okay. Most of the time she's happy. She's not very active, but she's not sad either. So I think the medication has helped.
There are 5 major drugs on the market to treat Alzheimer's. Another 9 drugs are already in the 3rd phase of clinical trials. There is an urgency as scientists around the world work to find new therapies to treat the disease, but more importantly, to find a cure. Some of the drugs that are in use today are Aricept, Cognix, Exelon, Namenda, and Residine. These drugs are capable of preventing or stopping the progress of the brain-wasting disease.
And you can see it here. You can see the shadow of the glass coming up onto a nerve cell.
World-renowned Dr. Stuart Lipton helped develop memantine or Namenda, the first therapy to treat Alzheimer's to be approved by the Food and Drug Administration. Lipton is now the director of the Neuroscience and Aging Center at the Burnham Institute in La Jolla, one of 4 top research labs in San Diego. Like many scientists, Lipton is on a quest for answers to solve the mysteries surrounding Alzheimer's.
Since one is to understand a complex disease is difficult, but I think, in my view, even more difficult is coming up with a treatment that the brain can tolerate. Most drugs fail not because they don't have some action that's beneficial. It's because the human brain is such an intricate and wonderful place that when we try to interfere with the process, sometimes we do more harm than good.
Scientists believe the harm comes from beta amyloid, a protein that builds up in the brain and kills neurons or nerve cells, permanently destroying the lives of millions of Americans battling Alzheimer's. Despite the medical advances, there's still much more to learn about the potentially deadly illness.
Oxygen and nitrogen molecules that can attach to and disrupt the way proteins normally fold. Now, why is it important? Proteins have many, many effects, not only in nerve cells, but in all of your cells. They're enzymes. They're channels and membranes. They have many, many effects. So you need your proteins to fold properly so they can act properly in life. Just like when I put on my coat this morning, if I didn't have it folded properly, it wouldn't function to keep me warm, right?
For years, scientists have been developing a vaccine to treat Alzheimer's. It seemed promising, but the vaccine caused significant side effects in humans, like brain inflammation. The medical field is now hopeful that stem cell research could hold the answers. Already, stem cells have the potential to grow into any type of human tissue. Scientists are now working on growing the blank cell into specific cells, which could ultimately help treat many diseases, including Alzheimer's.
However, there's another whole branch of stem cells where you try to recreate the actual disease in a dish, because now you can put human cells in a dish, which is very important. You don't have mouse or rat or another animal species. You actually have real human cells, and you can do screening. You can look for drugs that might affect human cells. So that's one aspect of using stem cells. It's very important. Another is cell-based replacement therapies, whereby we take stem cells and try to grow them into nerve cells or glia. And we've had some success with this.
As nearly 5 million Americans battle the disease, scientists in the U.S. are facing a major hurdle. Federal funding continues to decrease, translating into less money for research. But California seems to be the exception.
In 2004, California voters helped pass Proposition 71, the controversial bond measure that will allocate $3 billion for human embryonic stem cell research. Scientists know every bit helps in the search for medical answers. But the future isn't so bright for the rest of the nation. Experts say federal funding for Alzheimer's research has been slashed $100 million in the past 4 years, and it could get worse. The House Appropriations Committee is expected to cut funding again by $7 million this year alone. Expert and book author David Shank sees an irreversible trend in the research field.
We don't have enough federal money to help us do the basic research to conduct these very expensive clinical trials, to lure young scientists into this field. You know, it's often about a young scientist is going to choose this or another field, and if the money is greater in this other field, they're just going to go, not because they're selling out, just because they need to have grants for the work they do.
Obtaining those grants is critical to helping millions of patients suffering with the disease now, and for those who will develop Alzheimer's in the future.
Ultimately, the federal government is going to pay for Alzheimer's disease, one way or the other. Most of the people who have the disease are on Medicare or Medicaid or both, and that's a government program, and it costs a lot of money. The investment in research is tiny compared to that, and yet it is very difficult to get the government to focus on putting more into the research arena to save a great deal of money down the road.
Doctors believe Americans can do simple things to change the course of Alzheimer's, stopping it before it develops. By eating low-fat diets, large amounts of foods high in antioxidants like blueberries, and omega-3 in rosemary has shown a 60% reduction in Alzheimer's cases. Red wine and grapes also help because of an antioxidant compound which breaks down amyloids, the substance that causes plaque in the brain. As scientists work tirelessly to find new therapies that can one day successfully treat and ultimately cure Alzheimer's, there is hope.
There's a minimal effect, but it's a beneficial effect. And I think this is what kind of warmed my heart when you can look at the numbers and how much people are benefited. And then if you look at individual cases, there were patients who weren't recognizing loved ones or their caregivers who began to recognize them again.
And for families like the Lopez, the hope is that a cure could be found soon.
I just hope that they will find something to cure. We know that the damage to her brain is not going to be recovered ever, but at least to stop the damage and then continue her life just like it is right now, at least, so it doesn't progress more where she cannot walk or eat, or because that'll be very, very sad. But I just hope that